So X is about to go on, and I'm like, you know, I want to see. I got like
X is before you.
X is going before me. The lights are up. He's in the hallway. It goes doom doom.
Yeah, I just got the chill.
And now the arena's shaking, and I'm like, this is cool. And then it goes doom doom, and then he goes, and the arena goes crazy.
There was a hunger from the street that needs to be filled. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the ear of the street. I'm the mouth of the street. You know,
You've heard those rap beef stories that get exaggerated over time. One diss track, a little back and forth, maybe someone getting shoved at an awards show. Forget all that. What we're stepping into here wasn't surface level drama at all. This was a behind-the-scenes corporate crisis that almost ended with a former convict and a future billionaire shut in a room where one wrong move could have rewritten hip-hop history. No cameras, no phones, no witnesses willing to go on record. Just two men who started as rivals in a Bronx cipher and nearly didn't walk out of Def Jam Recordings' executive offices on the same page. This wasn't about headlines or attention, it was about pressure, ego, and power colliding behind closed doors. The reason this story stayed buried for so long wasn't because it was exaggerated. It was buried because it was too real, too close to the kind of confrontation that doesn't end with a handshake or a clean press release. And the wild part is this, we're only hearing about it now because someone who was actually there finally decided the truth had waited long enough. To understand how it got that serious, you have to go back to where it started. Not a studio, not a stage, a cramped, smoke-filled Bronx pool hall in the mid-1990s. Two hungry MCs climbed onto a billiards table, not just to battle, but to draw a line. Jay-Z stepped up calm and calculated, moving like a chess player. Every bar measured, every line deliberate. Across from him stood DMX, shirtless, sweating, pure intensity. He wasn't crafting punches, he was throwing them. The room was packed, tension thick, and when it ended, nobody agreed on a winner. Some say Jay outplayed him with strategy and control. Others say DMX shook the room with raw force. What everyone agrees on is that moment didn't end there. It followed them. Some people swear DMX's unfiltered rage left that room frozen, like nobody knew what they had just witnessed. And from that moment on, one thing became clear. X didn't see Jay-Z as just another MC. He saw him as too polished, too corporate, too comfortable playing by the industry's rules. To X, that wasn't growth, that was compromise. Jay, on the other hand, walked out with something different. Sources say he left that night calm, observant, already calculating. This wasn't just competition. This was a man who couldn't be managed, couldn't be boxed in, and definitely couldn't be controlled. By the late 1990s, the stakes were way higher. Both men were now superstars under Def Jam Recordings, but their paths couldn't have looked more opposite. Jay was moving like an executive in training, dropping Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, and quietly turning Rockefeller into a full-blown business machine. DMX was pure chaos in motion. He dropped It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood in the same year. 2 #1 albums back to back. No filter, no polish, just pain, hunger, and truth that hit people in the chest. They toured together, shared stages, smiled for cameras, but behind the curtain, it was cold. Real cold. DMX allegedly saw Jay's rise as a betrayal of hip-hop's soul, while insiders say Jay viewed X as a risk. Brilliant, powerful, but unpredictable. Then came the turning point.
Have you seen Jay lately, anytime lately?
Jay who?
Jay-Z.
No.
I mean, if y'all see each other, it wouldn't be an issue. It'd be like, you know, would y'all have a conversation like grown men?
Would you pull him over with the sirens?
No.
What about Lyor Cohen?
In 2004, Jay-Z was named president of Def Jam. One of his first moves was a phone call to DMX, and the message was icy. To Jay, the inmates had taken over the prison. To DMX, that moment felt like a victory lap. To Jay-Z, it was business as usual. But to everyone watching closely, it looked like a declaration of war. The tension had been simmering for years, and now the power balance had flipped. Jay controlled budgets, release dates, and the future of every artist under Def Jam Recordings. DMX, meanwhile, was buried in financial trouble. Roughly $12 million in debt, according to Rough Riders co-founder Wah Dean. Then came a move that still has the industry scratching its head. Jay allegedly cleared that debt entirely. On paper, it looked generous. Behind the scenes, some saw it as strategic. Insiders say X believed it stripped him of leverage and boxed him into a corner. To him, it wasn't help, it was control. And DMX was never built to play quiet.
Well, you know, if that is the case, you know, them attempting to use me will just get them shut out on their own song.
Right.
I mean, so it's like, you know, if that's what you want to do it. But if I don't feel a song or the artist, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a positive thing though that you could go away and then come back and artists are still like, that's who I want to work with. That means they're inspired by you. Like I know Machine Gun Kelly in particular.
Yeah, I like
Waka Flocka too.
Yeah.
Things finally snapped when Jay reportedly delayed the release of X's album Year of the Dog. Again, blaming market timing. To X, that explanation didn't fly. He saw it as sabotage. Plain and simple. That's when hip-hop history nearly took a dark turn. DMX allegedly stormed into Def Jam's Manhattan offices shirtless, eyes locked in, emotions boiling over. The room went still. Jay sat stone-faced, surrounded by executives who weren't used to real tension like this. Security hovered, ready to move, but something stopped it from going further. Maybe Jay's calm, maybe the gravity of the moment. For a split second, the entire industry held its breath. This wasn't just a heated exchange. This was a man who'd lived through the system, standing face to face with power in a room full of people who never had. And years later, one question still echoes through that boardroom. What stopped DMX that day? Jay walked away untouched. DMX didn't, and from that moment on, his career never truly found its footing again. Def Jam's direction changed fast. The label shifted into a sleek corporate machine built for crossover stars like Rihanna and Young Jeezy. DMX, once the raw voice of the streets, suddenly felt like a leftover from another era. The sound that once shook the culture no longer fit the blueprint. X eventually left the label, went independent, and watched the industry that once crowned him slowly move on. While that door closed, Jay-Z kept rising. His influence grew untouchable, turning Rock Nation into a billion-dollar empire built on control, precision, and long-term power. But DMX was never the type to fade into the background quietly. And the way he pushed back is where the story takes a darker turn. This was never just about two rappers beefing. It was two versions of hip-hop colliding head-on.
No, I've actually, it's because of snake-type women that I learned to trust. You know what I mean? I trust them to stab me in the back. You know what I mean? I trust a snake to be a snake. You know what I'm saying? I trust a thief to steal from me. I trust a liar to lie like that. So, you know what I mean? I'm trusting more now.
Oh my God.
Jay-Z represented the future, polished, strategic, and market-ready. DMX stood for something else entirely, raw, emotional, and unfiltered street truth that the industry was slowly pushing aside. Still, X had one last move left, and what came next showed something real. In this game, the most dangerous man isn't always the one with the most power. It's the one with nothing left to lose. That boardroom standoff wasn't the end, it was the starting point. When DMX walked out of Def Jam, he didn't just leave a label behind, he took the fight somewhere personal, somewhere deeper. The fallout from that decision is still echoing today. But to understand how it all reached this point, you have to rewind to the Bronx, to that early battle where everything started. Because this rivalry didn't begin with a phone call or a delayed album. It started with a stare, a growl, and a silent promise neither man ever forgot. And under Jay-Z's leadership at Def Jam, one pattern became impossible to ignore. DMX's music didn't slowly fade away, it disappeared. Projects lost priority. Singles stopped getting pushed. What once dominated radio was suddenly labeled not the right fit. While Jay-Z was busy anointing the next wave, ushering in stars like Rihanna, backing Kanye West's early rise, and leaning hard into polished crossover appeal, DMX's name quietly vanished from label meetings. This wasn't forgetfulness, this was strategy. Industry insiders still talk in low tones about how DMX's sixth album, Year of the Dog, again, was allegedly shelved not once, but twice, even though it was fully recorded and ready to go. The public excuse was market saturation. The private explanation cut deeper. According to multiple former Def Jam Recordings employees, Jay's team viewed DMX as a liability. Not because he lacked talent, but because he couldn't be predicted. And in a moment when hip-hop was being reshaped into a corporate product, unpredictability wasn't edgy anymore. It was dangerous. What made it sting more was the silence.
Well, see, you're confusing holding me down with riding.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because some of the levels, a lot of riders, you know what I'm saying? But the ones that hold me down, still with me.
And most of those guys are still riding other artists now.
There you go, they did.
Jay never dissed DMX on records, never took shots in interviews. He didn't need to. His decision said everything. Moves behind closed doors hit harder than any subliminal line ever could. Take the rumored Rock Nation comeback deal around 2012. Sources claim it was real. A full album rollout, tour backing, even a documentary to reclaim DMX's story. A lifeline, right when he needed one most. Then it vanished. No statement, no explanation, just another door quietly shut. Was DMX already too far gone? Or did Jay's camp realize they could never fully control a man who only answered to his own inner battles? Because while Jay-Z kept building an empire, DMX was fighting just to stay visible. The same industry that once praised his rawness had decided it no longer had room for it. And here's the wild thought. What if things had gone differently? Late 1999, hip-hop at its peak. Two unstoppable forces, Jay-Z and DMX, almost aligned under one banner. And that unrealized moment may be the biggest what if the culture ever buried. The rumors weren't fake. The talks actually happened. Irv Gotti, the architect behind early hits for both camps, was pushing hard to make it real. Ja Rule, fresh off his own breakout, was supposed to be the bridge, the missing link between Jay-Z's calculated brilliance and DMX's raw emotional fire. On paper, the formula was unstoppable. Jay's razor-sharp lyricism, X's pain-driven intensity, Jay's crossover momentum. Together, they could have rewritten the rules of rap entirely. People whispered about albums, tours, collaborations, even a movie deal floating around private rooms. But instead of a dynasty, the culture got silenced. And the reason cuts deeper than most ever realized. This wasn't a project that just fell apart. It was a quiet collapse fueled by egos brushing too close to the surface. Ja Rule later admitted in interviews that the tension between Jay and X was suffocating. They couldn't stand being in the same studio, let alone on the same record. The energy wasn't creative friction, it was personal. Jay, the strategist, allegedly saw DMX as a loose cannon, a wild card whose unpredictability could wreck the carefully built Rockefeller machine. From his view, one wrong move could cost everything he'd been lining up behind the scenes. DMX saw it completely differently. To him, Jay represented the industry's cold side, a man who chose structure, polish, and boardrooms over raw expression. The supergroup didn't die because of schedules or sound. It died because hip-hop itself was splitting in two. Jay stood for the future, controlled, marketable, corporate-ready. DMX stood for the past, unfiltered, emotional, and dangerous to contain. That divide finally exploded during a closed-door meeting at Def Jam Recordings offices where the trio was supposed to lock in the project's direction. Multiple people in the room say the air was so tense it felt less like a meeting and more like a standoff. Jay-Z came into those talks exactly how people expected. Calm, professional, always 3 steps ahead. He laid out a vision built on structure. Planned releases, brand partnerships, rollouts designed to dominate charts and award season. To him, this was how you win long-term. DMX, according to people in the room, wasn't hearing any of it. He allegedly brushed it off, saying the music should speak for itself. No suits, no gimmicks, no corporate hands shaping his voice. Ja Rule, stuck in the middle, later admitted he'd never seen two men struggle so hard to meet halfway. This wasn't just creative tension. It was a full-on disagreement over what hip-hop was supposed to be. One side believed in control and expansion. The other believed in truth without filters. Before the project even had a name, it quietly disappeared. What makes it haunt the culture is how close it came. Imagine it, Jay-Z's sharp wordplay colliding with DMX's raw confessionals, all tied together by J. Rule's hook-heavy appeal. It could have been the bridge between hip-hop's gritty roots and its polished future. Instead, it became another casualty of industry politics. To this day, insiders still debate what really killed it. Some say Jay's camp pulled the plug, worried DMX's volatility would damage a carefully built image. Others believe DMX walked away first, refusing to be part of something he saw as a corporate money play. Either way, the ending was the same, a missed moment that still stings. The real loss wasn't just the album that never happened, it was what it stood for. This was hip-hop's chance to prove the streets and the boardroom could exist together. That raw passion and business vision didn't have to cancel each other out, but Jay-Z and DMX were never going to be the ones to settle that war. Jay was too locked in building an empire to gamble his name on someone as unpredictable as DMX, and X was too busy battling his own demons to ever play by someone else's rules. The supergroup's collapse wasn't just a lost album, it marked the moment hip-hop lost its last real shot at unity. The streets got their martyr, the suits got their mogul, everyone else got a hard lesson in how pride and mistrust can tear culture apart. In the end, there was only one thing Jay-Z and DMX ever fully agreed on. They were better off as rivals. As long as they were on opposite sides, neither had to face the truth that the industry they loved no longer had room for both of them at the same time. Jay got the throne, X got the legend, and hip-hop was left with a cautionary tale about what happens when the streets and the boardroom refuse to meet in the middle. What could have changed everything became just another ghost in the system. Then there was the Beyonce factor. To DMX, Jay's transformation wasn't growth, it was betrayal. The man who once rapped about Marcy projects and survival was now vacationing in St. Bart's, rocking designer fits and moving through high society galas. His image felt scrubbed clean for corporate approval. DMX didn't just lose respect for Jay, he saw him as the ultimate sellout. In a 2006 interview with Vibe, X didn't hold back. He mocked the flip-flops, said Jay wasn't the same, blamed Love, and made it clear how he felt about that shift. It was never really about footwear. It was about identity. To DMX, Jay-Z had become everything he stood against. A man who traded edge for access and rawness for acceptance. And in X's eyes, that wasn't just personal disappointment, it was a betrayal of the culture itself. Hip-hop was supposed to stand for balance. What followed wasn't just professional fallout, it was existential. DMX's life unraveled in public view. Dozens of arrests, courtrooms replacing stages, personal struggles turning into headlines. It read like a man pushing himself to the edge while the world watched. But this wasn't only a personal collapse, it was the result of a system deciding he no longer fit. While Jay-Z sat courtside at NBA games and launched Tidal, DMX was performing overseas in half-filled clubs, his once dominant voice treated like a niche act. The industry didn't just move on, it quietly erased him. And the cold part is Jay never had to do anything dramatic, he just stopped answering calls. The final chapter isn't only about what happened, it's about what didn't. After DMX passed in 2021, rumors spread that Jay-Z and Beyonce had quietly acquired parts of X's masters, allegedly to return them to his children. Some saw it as respect, others saw control extending even beyond death. Either way, the story raised a hard truth. DMX's legacy was still shaped by the same forces that boxed him out while he was alive. Jay never spoke publicly about it. No long statements, no grand tribute moments, no posthumous collaborations. Just silence. And in that silence, the question still hangs. If DMX had lived, would peace ever have been possible? Or was this always a war with only one ending? Because the truth is simple. Jay-Z got the empire, the billions, the influence, the permanent seat at every table. DMX got the legend, the streets, the loyalty, the myth of a man who never bent. But the price of that path is the part no one likes to say out loud. The cost of being left behind. The cost of watching someone else rewrite the rules while you're still fighting the same fight. That's the real cost of a legacy that's praised, but never truly rewarded. So we'll leave you with this. If DMX had walked out of that Def Jam Recordings boardroom with a different outcome, if Jay-Z had reached out with an open hand instead of cold calculation, if the industry had chosen raw truth over polished profit, would hip-hop even look the same today? Or did the culture lose something it can never replace the moment these two decided they couldn't exist in the same world? Now it's on you. Who do you think really won this war? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story hits you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. This is BuzzScope. We'll see you in the next one.